Hello, welcome along to Perky.nz. My name is Marnie Perkinson and today I'm very excited to have Fleur with me for a little chat. Now Fleur has been in the beauty therapy industry, she tells me 30 years.
I know.
Is that right?
Long time.
30 years. And she was co-founder of 28 Natural Skincare and Essential Oils with Kim Morrison.
That's right.
So that was about 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Beautiful, beautiful products. And also co-wrote a book called Like Chocolate for Women.
Yes.
So all around self-care and chemical-free living, which is really what I wanted to talk to Fleur about today, because I was really lucky to sit in on a talk that she gave about 2 weeks ago over in the Sunshine Coast. Now, you mentioned the first issue that people have in terms of looking after their skin, or the first thing they do wrong, is nutrition, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a massive area though.
Yeah, it is huge, and one that, we'll spend hours talking about that today. But the most important thing is understanding that the skin grows from the inside out. And that's where a lot of people want these instant fixes, and what can I do for my skin? Give me something I can do now that will make a difference.
Yeah.
And while what we put on the skin is very important and does make a huge difference, just as much what we put on the inside makes a massive difference to how the skin presents itself. And fat is probably one of the key factors there, because fat is the building block for skin. So every single layer of skin has a layer of fat between it, and every cell is encapsulated in fat. The cell membrane is fat.
Right.
And so understanding that we need to get those good fats into our diet,
So important, isn't it?
to create that nice plumpness. It also helps to hold moisture, so it stops the skin from drying out and dehydrating. And it also helps the cells communicate, so we can actually get the nutrients, what we eat, into the outer layers of the skin.
And that's been a really important thing, I think, for us to learn as nutritionists too. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're getting away from this low-fat diets, which we used to do, and getting more into the high-fat, because there's so many benefits to our skin, to our overall health, and if we're not having enough fat, it really does show in our skin.
Absolutely. Not to mention, you kind of feel yucky.
Yeah, you do.
With if you're not eating enough fat, you're constantly hungry.
That's true.
It also affects our hormone balance, the inflammatory response within the body, particularly essential fatty acids are responsible for that anti-inflammatory effect. So generally there's so many other roll-on effects by not having good fat.
Now this is something, Fleur, I think I would like to come back to with you, because it is such a massive area. I've just written a blog in terms of the gut microbiome and looking after your gut health through nutrition and how that affects your skin. What I thought I'd start with you today is all about what goes onto our skin and how that affects our internal health and how it affects the health of our skin and our ability to age gracefully, because we can't stop it all together, can we? No.
We can slow it down, but...
Yeah. So maybe if you could start with giving us a brief rundown of what the skin is made up of, and how, what we put on our skin, how deep does it go?
And that is a really interesting question that a lot of people get confused around. Should I go natural? I want to go natural, but it doesn't really do anything, compared to I need the heavy duty stuff. Or is that the best? So understanding the skin is a functioning organ, and so what we put on it does in a way get digested into the body.
Right.
Yeah? So a lot of it does sit on the surface, but there's a huge part of it that does get ingested into the body. So every single pore and every single hair follicle, if you actually look on your skin and look how many hairs, for example, just on the arm area there, at the bottom of each of those hair follicles is a minute little blood supply, okay, because that's what the hair's attached to.
It's feeding it.
Yeah, and so every time we massage ingredients into the skin, that actually has access to that blood supply. So the chemicals in a lot of the products, and particularly more the alcohols, do get absorbed into the system. Now, minute quantities, obviously, you're not going to absorb huge amounts, but those minute quantities over a long period of time have an accumulative effect and start to have an inflammatory response within the body, particularly if they're perfumed and fragranced and synthetic. So
and I've been caught out with those things. I've thought I've bought a product that's fairly natural, and then it's got perfume in it. Everything else in it was completely natural.
Yeah.
So first off then, what are the sorts of synthetic ingredients that through what you've been reading, and also through the clients that you see or the people that you teach, what is affecting us detrimentally in terms of our skin health and our internal health?
Yeah, well, probably one of the big ones that a lot of people are aware of is the preservative angle.
Okay.
And that is where the paraben issue comes in. So parabens are, and there's still huge controversy. You'll hear a lot of people say, it's absolutely fine and it's been way over the top. Who
are these people? The people that are putting it in their products?
And you get people going, well, they wouldn't sell it if it wasn't safe. It wouldn't be allowed in the shops.
That's a really good point though, but who...
And it is, because the beauty industry is a hugely unregulated industry.
Right.
It really is unregulated. So you can basically put whatever you want in products as long as you have under certain amounts. Because over certain amounts it does become highly toxic, but you can put that same toxic ingredient in the product as long as you keep it to small amounts.
But then you're looking at
it into the body.
And that's right. And these days, it's not just one thing that we're using that might have parabens in it. We've got to add up the cumulative effect of what goes on our skin, what we're using in our hair care, everything.
I think that's the big thing too, is when people think of skincare, they just think of this.
Right.
But we have a lot more skin on the rest of our body that people are putting ingredients on, having a detrimental effect. So really be aware of like the body moisturizers you're using, the body lotions, the body washes, because there's a lot more skin below the neck.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's probably a big key is, people really focus on this and even using all their natural skincare and they're not using natural everywhere else. Even deodorants, what we're putting directly into our armpit, directly into those lymph nodes, huge lymphatic area in here, the axillary nodes. And what are we putting in there? Chemicals and perfumes and aluminiums and triclosan and these ingredients that have a so-called antibacterial effect, which do affect the endocrine system.
But affect our health as well.
So so you've got the parabens probably and the preservative systems like the triclosan that have quite a nasty effect within the body. They also stop any enzyme activity within a product. That's how it has the preservative effect, but by stopping any enzyme activity in the product, you're also stopping all the good enzymes if you're using natural ingredients.
Of course.
So you're stopping, what we want to get in. So preservatives are probably a big one. So look for a lot of natural products, and we do have the great thing now is we're having a huge selection come on the market for offering. But in saying that, we also have to do our own research and become aware of what is natural and what is not natural.
Okay, this is the point that I wanted to get on to next, because I've been fooled by this. I've gone into the supermarket, just gone to get a body wash or something like that, and I don't know whether it's said 100% natural, but definitely there's been natural thrown around there, and I should know better with nutrition ingredients. Organic ingredients, things like that. Again, what's regulated there? What do we trust there?
The company.
Okay.
So you kind of need to investigate and check out the company, do your research and find out, how they are made, what ingredients they do use, what testing's been done on them, and don't just rely on the words natural, because you only have to have 10% of natural ingredients in your product
to call it natural,
to claim yourself as a natural product.
Right. And then we know that, even like say if it says organic, it might just contain organic ingredients. So you look for a certification.
Yep, look for a certification. Sometimes the whole product might not be certified, but the ingredients gone in might be individually certified.
Right.
So if you actually look at the company and do a little bit of research, you'll actually see where they source their ingredients are all individually certified. Doesn't necessarily have to be the product, has to be then have an overall certification.
So it gets really hard, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So do you find though, shopping in, the likes of your big department stores, your supermarkets and things like that, as opposed to some of these other products that are coming through, is it mostly online that you would find the completely natural?
Yeah, mostly online. I do like to shop online because then I can really research and do a lot more information. Often things that are hitting the market in supermarkets, particularly if they are cheaper, and unfortunately, often we look for a bargain, but that isn't always the best indication, because often they've cut corners or gone cheaper ingredients because of that.
Right.
So I'm not saying you have to spend the most expensive, but often the real cheaper products are cheaper for a reason.
For a reason, absolutely.
Yeah,
Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was some of the skin conditions that we have. Again, it's a really massive area, but I think a really common one is breakouts, and especially for teenagers going through that phase in their life. Now, you had a really graphic example of a guy called Brian Turner.
Yes.
And I know
Google him.
Yeah, Google him, watch some of his videos on YouTube, and he has had horrendous cystic acne. He's done a lot with his diet. also tried things like Roaccutane and drugs. Now,
Yeah, he did.
what route has he gone down, and what really worked for him, and why, do you think?
That was a fascinating case, and do Google it because it's quite dramatic with the photos. You'll see what we mean. But he developed cystic acne, so right through his teenagehood, he had horrendous, what we call cystic acne, which were very painful cysts, along with pustules and papules and all the traditional sort of blemishes that you normally imagine with acne. And he tried everything. He went to the chemist, he did all your hydrogen peroxide type of products and acne type of products. He ended up at the doctor, antibiotics, then ended up on Roaccutane. So Roaccutane is a vitamin A derivative, a synthetic vitamin A derivative.
Commonly used,
yeah, commonly used. And I don't know, for people suffering from cystic acne, sometimes they feel that that is their only option. Ended up at the doctor. So you kind of understand if you've got that dramatic skin condition. But it's very dramatic in the way that it kind of shuts down a lot of the oil production in the body and the linings of the skin. So your nose dries out, your eyes dry out, all the other passages in your body you can imagine dry out. So you get a lot of symptoms with that, as well as you can't get pregnant because of vitamin A deformity. So you normally sign a document to make sure you understand all the risks you're taking with that.
Will fix acne, but might kill other things.
It's horrendous, but you really feel for these people who feel like they've got no choice.
Totally. But then further down the track, that
so
kind
what
of
it does,
rebound
it does.
Yeah.
It had a dramatic effect, so it sort of shut down the oil production. His skin dramatically cleared, not perfectly, but made a huge difference. And then when he went off it though, it came back. So about 6 months later or so, he started getting the cystic acne back, and he didn't know what to do. And somebody suggested he go off dairy products. So obviously he had never addressed his diet. Typical teenager, probably just eating whatever and whenever he likes.
And he was bodybuilding, so he was on whey protein too, wasn't he? So trying to bulk up.
Yeah,
as guys
exactly. So yeah, eating a heck of a lot of protein, probably not a lot of veggies to clean the system out. That nice balance. And so he started cutting dairy out and noticed his skin started to change. And so he thought, well, if I cut dairy out, what happens if I add more veggies in? And he went down this whole track and he blogged it, and he has a huge following now. You should see what his skin looks like now.
Basically, he's like a model now, isn't he?
He's gorgeous.
But you wouldn't have gorgeous. You couldn't tell that before.
The best before and after I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. So for those sorts of people too then, and everyone else that's suffering from skin conditions like that with breakouts, what do you say to them in terms of some of these natural products still have oils in them, they have essential oils in them. Why would we want to use oil if we've got oily skin?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good question. So essential oils aren't in fact a fatty oil. So essential oils are almost like the concentrated alcohol from the plant. They're what we call the life force of the plant, the very concentrated essential part of the plant that has a lot of the antibacterial and healing properties.
Right,
so that's extracted. Yep, that's extracted, and we can use that onto the skin, but we always have to dilute it because an essential oil is 80 to 100 times more concentrated than the plant it came from.
Okay.
So if we use that direct on the skin, we can have quite a reaction because it's very, very concentrated. And just because it's natural doesn't mean it's completely safe and you can do whatever you like.
That's right.
You still have to have those precautions. So we dilute that into what we call carrier oils, or sometimes a skincare preparation, and we get the antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, healing properties through that. So that's your essential oils, and then there are also other plant oils, for example, like your rosehip oil, or jojoba oil, and they are plant oils. They're oils, what we call dry oils, which means they don't leave a real oily effect on the skin. The skin absorbs them quite quickly. The top layers of the skin absorb them, the epidermis, and they sit in the skin quite nicely without sort of being oily or breezy on the skin. And they're the plant oils, just like the food that we're eating on the inside. We all know that our fruit and veggies deliver a huge amount of antioxidants and phytonutrients and all those vitamins that we need. Well, the plant oils also deliver that to the skin. And the key one in there probably is the vitamin A. So vitamin A is still known, has been known for forever as the vitamin for the skin. It's anti-aging, it's healing, it speeds up the cell renewal, it speeds up the cell process. And so things like your rosehip oil, has a huge amount of vitamin A, along with vitamin C and E in it as well. Yeah. So that delivers what we call those retinoids, which is vitamin A, into the skin in a really safe way.
Okay. And so then going back to the pre-step to that before you're putting the creams on, again for people even with blemishes, the difference between using a natural skincare product and a lot that are on the market specifically for blemishes and breakouts. What is that doing to their skin? Because you talked about this thing called skin microbiome, which we haven't even touched on yet.
We could be here all day.
We could be here all day. I said I was going to do a 5 to 10 minute interview. Yeah.
Yes, so the skin microbiome, well, some people might know it as your acid mantle, or the skin lipid barrier, so it's got quite a few names, and that sits on the surface of the skin, and it's like your protective. It's like a mixture of your sebum, your oil, your sweat, and it sits as a protective barrier. It's slightly acidic, and it protects the skin from bacteria entering the skin, from the environment. It holds the moisture in the skin, so it keeps that moisture level to stop our skin drying out, as it were. Okay. And that can be disrupted quite easily. And the biggest way it gets disrupted is through cleansing, over cleansing, or over scrubbing. And that is where people with oily skin tend to do that, because they think, I've got to get this oil off, so I'll just use, go to the supermarket and get a scrub for oily skin. Or a foaming cleanser for oily skin, and it's those foaming cleansers and soaps and scrubs that will leave the skin squeaky clean. So if your skin feels tight or squeaky clean after you cleanse it, you've disrupted the acid mantle.
That's a good tip. That's a really good thing to actually, when you use your skincare tomorrow morning, or you get your kids who have got problems using skincare cleansers, ask them that question: what are they feeling like afterwards?
If you feel like, oh my goodness, I need a moisturiser, my skin feels really dry, then you've disrupted that acid mantle and stripped any moisture out of the skin. So then what the skin does, because it's very intelligent, it will go into a protective mode and think, okay, well, I need to rebalance quickly, so let's pump out more oil as much as we can.
Right.
And so
Acne.
So half an hour later, you end up with shiny, oily skin.
Yeah.
And so they're like, then they feel like they have to cleanse their skin or use very matte makeup to try and mop up all this excess oil. So it becomes a vicious circle. So with oily skin, it's really important to treat it gently. So really gentle cleansing, still really effective cleansing, just doesn't need those harsh soaps or foaming cleansers.
So in the end, they don't really need much different from a normal skin?
They don't need much different, no.
Okay.
No, just probably a few more healing products.
Right.
As far as those key products that deliver a real sort of antibacterial healing effect.
Of course.
And really addressing what's happening on the inside. Lots of water, lots of vegetables,
Absolutely
green vegetables. To cleanse. Just think you've got to cleanse on the inside as much as the outside.
I had a friend actually several years ago and went off, it was probably about 15 years ago, went off to Thailand, did one of these juicing retreats, vegetables only. She came back literally, her skin was almost see-through. It was absolutely incredible, and I just thought back then, that's it. I'm definitely upping the veggies and I'm starting to juice.
Yeah, well, you've made a really good point though. Juicing or smoothies, particularly
easy way to get them in.
It's such an easy way to get a high dose in.
Totally.
And so that's what I do every morning. I make a whole lot of smoothies for the kids. A green smoothie. Well, they have no choice.
Hey, but they don't mind it when you throw it in a smoothie. It tastes better.
And what I'm finding though is that they're starting to crave it. So they come upstairs and go, "Where's my green smoothie? Where's my drink?"
Come on.
Yeah, so I think when you get good food in the body, as much in the beginning it might be a little bit of a shock to the body starts to crave it.
So
after a while.
true. Hey, now you've touched on this a couple of times through the things that you've said too. So just one last question that I wanted to throw at you. Quite a few people are scared to change, and I think this is marketing, but I'd love to hear your point of view. Change from synthetically made products, so these high-end products that sell for a lot of money, have been researched, whatever, to a natural skincare, and the argument is, well, I don't know if it's going to work. Is it active?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. So there is a lot. Where do I start? It's a hugely unregulated industry.
2 minutes.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Hugely unregulated industry. It's also a multi-billion-dollar industry. So there is a lot of money to be made, and a lot of the big companies you will find. That they have smaller ranges in supermarkets. They're the same companies that make a lot of the bigger ranges as well. Unless they've got real clinical trials and go down that route, most of them are not actually doing a lot, to be honest. You're wasting your money. You're better to go to more the plant-focused ingredients that actually resonate with the skin, because our skin has a natural affinity to nature. We have a natural affinity to work with products that are from nature. So it's the same with your diet. It's like that margarine butter thing. A lot of people say, well, margarine is so close to plastic, it's not funny. And our body doesn't recognize those fats. The body recognizes the fats out of butter because it's a natural fat. And so as much as you shouldn't have too much of it, it is a much better fat than a plastic fat that your body doesn't recognise. It's the same with skincare. Your body will recognise, your skin is very intelligent, and it does have a natural affinity with nature, so it will recognise those ingredients and work with them. For example, you know, like your rosehip oil and your plant oils that have high beta-carotene, which is a form of vitamin A, provides those retinoids into the skin. The skin recognises that and will convert and use it, often compared to a synthetic vitamin A or retinoid, which claims to do amazing things. Retinoids are also known that they're a very high skin irritant.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, they can cause, if you have too high a dose, they can cause the skin to peel, lose its moisture and irritate, which creates inflammation, which creates a whole lot of free radical, which will speed up the aging process. So the one ingredient that you're using to slow down the aging process ends up actually speeding it up.
It's kind of turned everything on its head, really. It's almost the opposite of what we've kind of learnt through some of the marketing that's been used. Is what I'm learning now.
Exactly.
And it's the same around nutrition too. You know, the stuff that I would have even promoted in the past was all around the low fat and looking at the calorie content and not so much the nutrients and things which are natural, and promoting margarine, and I don't do that now. You know, so we have come a long way, and I think there is a lot of research around this coming out now, which is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look, I could be here forever
We
with
could.
Fleur, so
We
I'm
could.
going to let it go now, and we need to catch up for a coffee anyway. So thank you so much for inviting me into your home, and I hope
Absolute
we can
pleasure.
chat again in the future. If you've got any questions maybe for Fleur, or any comments to make, any topics that you'd like me to talk about in the future, then please feel free to comment below. Sign up if you haven't already to my newsletter at Perky.nz, so you'll get all these newsletters and all these vlogs. If you would like to purchase the 28 brand of certified organic essential oils and organic skincare, then you can do so at, it's probably easiest to go to 28, so it's the word 20, number 8.com, but make sure at checkout you use the coupon code PERKY, so it's capital PERKY, and I think you'll get a 10% discount using that. So great to talk to you, and hopefully we'll chat to you soon. Thanks.